Thank you very much for coming here with us today. I would like to maybe set the mood for this forum. Probably gonna start with one or two questions more related to your area, and we leave it open it to the floor so that the people can ask questions about what you're doing and challenges that you're facing as a CTO and advisor to the banks or fintech. Okay. So Datuk Siddiq, I understand you've been with STB or have been active with STB, Standard Chartered, is it? And 27 years, CTO, CIO, impressive resume, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that you can share some things with us. Particularly, we were wondering when it comes to IT and technological advances here. How does the bank prepare themselves? Things are changing every day. They're changing, and being ahead is very important. And what do you do to stay ahead?
Okay, so I have to speak on a term of fintech because that is what is this whole discussion is, that what banks are doing. I think in Malaysia, what we have seen is that exactly that bits and pieces. Here and there, the banks are coming up with some of the fintech solutions. When I'm asking this question to the most of the bankers that do you have a fintech strategy, everybody says yes, but that is a question. In fact, what is the term is fintech to them? So if they feel this is a disruption, that whether they would like to see it or don't. Second is banks like us, Standard Chartered Bank is a continuously improving in terms of digital transformation. So I'm not really saying fintech, but digital transformation. And you see most of the bank are having the iBanking, mobile banking, and other solutions. So continuously you can see. But now the way the fintech is coming up, and I have heard a lot about today on blockchain, but my view is slightly different. I'm the member of the fintech committee in Bank Nagara, and we are working since last 8 months over there to come up with some of the solution. And it's a good news that probably Bank Nagara has to say this, not to me, but we worked out one of the area where the pilot will be soon starting on blockchain. So it's not currency, cryptocurrency is a pure blockchain technology is being used in one of the area called invoice financing. So more on a trade side, that's what we are looking. But there are huge number of areas where in a technology the banks are doing more. Like robo-process automation is a big piece. And most of the banks are driving it because they have to improve the efficiency and give a better experience to the customer. The second area is chatbot and artificial intelligence. The banks are working on that as well. The chatbot is one of the area also that how we can give a better experience and reduce more on a call center kind of things rather than directly customers should get what they want to get by looking into, by using the artificial intelligence or by understanding the customer need with the behavior. It's a very, so machine learning is quite bit into it, that how banks are going and giving the data, big data to the machines to learn the behavior of the individual, and that's how the call center has to talk about. So it's a series of areas where the banks are stepping in, not a one particular area of the blockchain. Blockchain is a new technology, which definitely banks can use it, but it is difficult on individual banks to really work on blockchain. It's a society. So to me, all the banks in Malaysia and across, if they are looking forward, of course, there are a number of financial the areas in a financial sector that blockchain can be used. So I'm pretty much excited, in fact, that the way in Malaysia the various things are coming, hopefully all these blocks will come together. DF zone, which is just announced. So SME has to grow, in fact, and more usage of the websites or internet will come. On a second side, MDEC is doing a lot of other things basically to create an entrepreneur and creating this incubators and accelerators, which is all helping in fact. And last is basically that SC and Bank Nagara is quite number of initiatives they are taking into. You just heard that robo-advice just announced yesterday, and Bank Nagara will announce some of these which I am talking about. It is on the very early stage of working. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dato'. Mr. Fazrul Izwan, Sedania, I mean, I hear a lot of good news. 300,000 personal finance accounts, registered with your service. 21 companies for startup fintech, and so we're wondering, how did you do this? I mean, IT wise, technical wise. I mean, what do you have to do to manage this kind of service over 25 billion worth of trading? Yeah, tell us your secret there.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening. Well, in the fast-paced world today, speed is everything. Okay, and therefore we need a faster and better time-to-market strategy. To achieve this, actually, we have to start with the platform itself. Our platform is actually is highly configurable and highly customizable at the same time. Our platform is also actually it's a dynamic platform. It's not stagnant. It's not static. So we keep receiving a lot of enhancement and change requests from the banks and financial institutions. So how do we cope with this? Is actually to cope with this speed, okay, we actually adopt agile methodology in our software development processes, okay? So talking about, let's say manpower, okay? We not only hire people with the right skill set, but we also hire people with passion, okay? Those who are passionate about technology itself, those who are passionate about in building something awesome, okay, that's what people we hire.
Yeah, but where do you find these people? I mean, passion is not easy to find.
No, we went through a lot of hiring process for these. We stringently and selectively select all these people. Nowadays, if we can see that all these kind of talent is those millennials, youth people, okay, maybe younger than the rest of us here. So that's where we have to tap the talent from.
Interesting. Thank you very much. I know we have to learn where to find these good people, because finding solutions are hard. I mean, developing solutions like this are very difficult. But Mr. Yusuf Sultan, right? You with Etis Ventures as well, and you have a flagship called Etis Crowd. This is a crowdfunding platform that you have, and I understand is it one of the first in Malaysia, or how does it go? And what kind of how do you deal with it, with regulatory problems? Does the technology have to change according to the regulations here?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Rizal. First, I would like to thank the audience who are still in the room at this very challenging time. Okay, so etiscrowd.com is our star platform at Etis Ventures. It's not the first crowdfunding platform. It's the, we can say it's the first Islamic real estate crowdfunding platform. And we are actually incorporated in Singapore. And we try to follow the regulations based on Singapore. Recently, we got a license from Securities Commission in Malaysia last year, and the P2P license. And based on that license, we have recently launched actually the Malaysian platform called nusacapital.com, where we actually try to adhere the regulations in Malaysia. However, the challenges are mostly covered in the previous session by Siti Zurina. She has covered the legal and regulatory challenges in Malaysia. So yes, we have faced the challenges for our Malaysian platform, and still it's yet to come up with projects. However, since itiscrowd.com is regulated to Singapore and it's a bit flexible there, and we do not do equity crowdfunding, so I mean we have a bit flexible arena in that space. Yeah.
So with your platform, you develop it within how long did it take to get it up to market?
Okay, so we develop crowdfunding platforms for, sometimes we have requests from our other partners or interested parties. So it usually depends on, since we already have a stable platform and we are enhancing it every while, so it takes up to 1 or maximum 2 months from getting up the contents and requirements and also the regulatory treatments and everything to go live from the very beginning until going live. Yeah.
Okay, now I go to Mr. Lokesh Gupta. I understand that you deal with business analytics.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, so money remittance and risk assessment management, microfinancing.
Right.
I mean, these are interesting stuff. But, you know, when we're dealing with a lot of, when we talk about money remittance, you know, handling people's money, I don't, you require a lot of data space, I assume.
Right.
And where do you put this stuff? I mean, there's some rules that say if you put data outside of Malaysia, you're violating PDPA. So how do you do it?
Okay, interesting question, Dr. Rizal. Okay, when we design our system, right, so what we do is we have taken care of all these so-called PDPA measures in our system. So our system actually is developed for the non-banking or remittance service provider. So they are more open. The regulations actually we follow, of course, as per the banking era. So what happened is whatever data we have in our database is all encrypted. So especially when it comes to the customer details, their names, their passports, their ICs, so all those are encrypted. And when we are interfacing with the counterparts, or maybe I can call it cross-border transactions, at present we don't use SWIFT. We bypass SWIFT where actually we communicate directly to the corridors, which could be the banks. You know. So what we do is over there they only require some selective information as per their regulations. You know. So over there we don't send all the information, which largely, again, when the customer performs the remittance, they sign a form saying that yes, the ID information can be shared. So that's how this information goes to the other part of the world, where actually we need more, not much on the sender side, but more the beneficiary side. So that's how basically we take care of this PDPA or the data side of the so-called customer. But again, the information is stored within Malaysia. It doesn't go outside Malaysia. Okay, only in the selected, basically just so-called data content, not much. So that's how we control it. Yeah.
Interesting. So until Bank Negara comes out with the eKYC, right? And then, so Datuk Siddiq, again back to you. He talked about eKYC there, and you mentioned about blockchain a bit just now, and the banks. Now, looking at Bank Negara and the banks, I mean, how realistic is this going to happen? I mean, where are we right now? How is the bank preparing? What's your advice for people out there who are building applications like RM applications? I mean, we have to work with the bank with the eKYC stuff. So
let me, there was one future conference last year where all the bank has participated, and banks has came up with the two initiatives to do on a fintech. One is on a trade area, and second is in a eKYC. And these two are in the progress and learning and working in the Bank Nagara level, where they have formed a committee which is around 8 to 10 banks. And they're working very closely there to come up with a solution. So that is the one side of it. The other side of it, the bank are closely working with the fintech companies, I think. This question comes quite often, and I organized personally one kind of seminar where I invited around 20 fintech companies, Bank Nagara, Security Commission, MDEC, and 6 banks. And what was the subject over there, that how we have to develop the collaboration between the banks, regulators, and these fintech companies. And lot of understanding we developed over there, that how we have to go for. What really we feel the gap is that banks are not thinking that these small players of the fintech can be able to help in a large scale to them. That's a thinking I have seen across, by the way. They see that if someone can disrupt us, probably the bank, maybe the large company like Facebook or Amazon or Alibaba, not a small company which is coming up with a very small idea, cannot disrupt the bank. That is the thinking somewhere. Wrong or right, I'm not saying that. So this is the thinking somewhere, and that's basically the disconnect I can see somewhere. But if you see, some of the banks has taken a very good approach, which is coming up with the open API. And just last week you heard about the DBS has launched 155 open APIs, which is the largest anywhere in the world. The numbers has created for these small fintechs. So now this is for the fintech to collaborate and use those open APIs to connect their product with the banking system. So, I think Maybank has taken a lead, and in Malaysia, the only Maybank came up with the open API. At this UOB is coming up. So you will see in the next few months or next year, a lot of this openness will be there. And these small companies we have to encourage. In fact, I always say that these startups and fintech companies has to be encouraged, but they have to understand the banking as well. So always I say that they are the fintech companies, startups, they are technology company, but they have to understand the banking as well. So that is a very important thing which I always say, is that learn how the bank works. Because that will not change very soon, by the way.
So it's really tough for fintech companies right now. I mean, it's the small ones. They either get acquired or somehow disappear, right, in the long run.
Yeah, so that always, not only in Malaysia, everywhere this challenge is there, that if you are coming up with the idea and you have not, and you are resolving a problem of a society. So always when the startup coming up, they come up what they want to resolve. And it can be the customer experience and as well as for the bank. But sometime I have seen, and I can give you the example, the one of the company came up and they want to resolve the problem on a check. So they want to scan and send the checks to Bank Nagara. Now my question is that Bank Nagara is reducing the checks since last 1 year, and only Standard Chartered Bank has reduced 60% of the checks. Now my question is, you are going to the wrong against the current. So you have to find out a solution or find out a problem which is relevant to the bank or customer experience. If either of it is not, I don't think so they can be able to survive. Because either you have to look into customer side, that they are helping customer, giving a different experience, much easier, much low cost, or at the bank to reduce their cost, to integrate between the new generation and the bank.
Interesting. Speaking of understanding the banks, but I think for Etis, I think you're doing something, a lot of good things out there. That are you disregarding the banks, and you're getting a lot of support for this, and it's interesting of how you're building it. Particularly, I look into your website and I see you guys are going blockchain even before frameworks are being introduced in Malaysia. So tell me what's your plan there? Is it a trade secret, or can you share a bit here?
Well, it's not a secret. We have recently partnered with a Luxembourg company called ConnectCap, and they specialize in blockchain technology. And they are piloting a zakat-based blockchain application, whereby the donors would be able to, donate their zakat through this blockchain technology, and it can be traced. So where the money is going, how the receiver is, or where the receiver is actually spending. They are trying to pilot on this whole, and they have this partnership with a department in the University of Luxembourg as well. So some PhD researchers are working together. So this is an interesting experience they have, and we are trying to leverage on this experience and see how we can incorporate the same in our crowdfunding experience. Because if you have noticed to our ethisventures.com, now we are, just a couple of months ago, we have launched sadakaindonesia.com, which is a Sadaka-based crowdfunding platform. And we are now going to a bigger platform for Sadaka, which will be a more global. I'm not announcing the name at this point of time, but inshallah very soon we will be knowing that. So in that platform, we are envisioning to have a sort of blockchain technology where we can trace the donors can trace where the money is going and who are the recipients and sort of. On top of what we already have. So in our real estate campaigns, for example, in ethiscrowd.com, we already provide updates to our investors. So that is more manual. So we provide periodic updates on the projects and campaigns they have invested in. Not only the financial updates or the real traces, also post-campaign updates or after the project has been matured. For example, we have a campaign in Pahang, and it has matured, and we see a lot of people or have already moved there. So we went there physically, and we met those people, those happy faces, and we took videos and pictures, and we sent out to the investors. So they can see the social impact they have brought to those low or middle income people. So this is the traceability we already give them. So on top of those, we are trying to add blockchain as well, inshallah.
Amazing. So, these are ahead of time with technology, and also doing good. It's just great. Now for Mr. Fazrul, what about your outlook? Everybody's moving into blockchain. Should you just join the bandwagon? This is a specific CTO decision. If you say join, then you would have to invest a lot on this. And is this a move that you are looking at closely? You want to do this, or or you're preparing your company to do this, or you're going on a different route totally? What's your take?
Okay. To be frank, we have not on board yet on the blockchain technology for now for Ethis. But yes, we are interested in blockchain technology probably more than anything else. I think for a Sharia compliant product like Acidic, we definitely need a blockchain technology for its transparency nature, okay? Because Acidic is dealing with a lot of trading transaction on daily basis. So I would say that having blockchain technology in place will definitely help the operation very much. Like for example, like having a shared ledger, for example, it will help our operation better, because the transparency nature of it. It can be transparent amongst all the involved parties because we're dealing with trading here.
Who are the major stakeholders of the current platform right now?
Well, we have been doing with 21 banks and financial institutions out there. And we actually are dealing with brokers, commodity brokers, ready buyers and ready sellers. And also, of course, we are bound to our Sharia regulations.
Yeah, but it looks like the system works very well now already and very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of other improvement would you, other than just Sharia compliancy that you're looking at?
Well, apart from blockchain technology, we are going also to merge what the existing technology that we have now into other verticals. For example, our parent company actually has partnered with one of the big data analytics company. Okay, so we want to get on board to big data analytics.
I see.
To provide the value-add services to the banks and financial institutions partners.
Okay. So it's interesting, big data analytics. I mean, we talked the whole day about blockchain and stuff. But Rajateh was saying that, the data analytics is important. We can do a lot for microfinancing, the financial inclusion. And what's your take on that? Are you going, I mean, you deal with people's money, handling how money is being moved, how people are financing their money and investing their money. Are you, what's the next step for RM in this?
Okay, that's a good question. What exactly we are doing right now is, as you said correctly, we are moving money. Okay, so now the next phase what we are working on is basically working with more e-wallets. Basically what is happening is right now the money is being either credited to the bank account or maybe to, we call it like a cash pickup. People go and collect the cash. So the next wave what actually is happening is people talking about wallets, the purse, so basically it's like a prepaid cards. Like even the Jack Ma has bought over MoneyGram, so I'm sure most of us know it. Now MoneyGram is actually going beyond, they're connecting with the multiple payment wallets as well. So that's the next phase what we are working on right now. And of course, if the third phase which we are working on, which we are exploring right now, is with some of our clients as well, is using the blockchain, especially on using, because Ripple right now has already been authorized as one of the cryptocurrency for remittance payments in Thailand and other countries. So we are exploring. Okay, of course, we are also waiting for the regulatory, so-called, the guidelines or this one, whether is it allowed to use the cryptocurrency as also one of the method of doing a remittance. Because we are only doing a fiat currency. Okay, so now, for example, like as Rajate has mentioned about this, the B exchange, which actually set up in Dhaka. So end of the day, when we are transferring money, the cash is still in ringgit. Okay, now what we are doing is we are converting ringgit to USD, then USD to, let's say, Dhaka, the Taka, sorry, this one. Now what happened is if we use cryptocurrencies, right? So what we are taking in ringgit, then maybe we are doing it either in Bitcoin or in basically Ripple. Then again, that will again convert it back into fiat currency. Because end of the day, the beneficiary may want to use the cash again in the local currency. Of course, they have an option to use it as is basis maybe in some of the outlets. So this is the third thing which we are trying to explore, but still at a very early stage. But again, from technology point of view, we are equipping ourselves to see how to integrate with the blockchain and also with the cryptocurrency.
Now, I mean, listening to you guys, being able to scratch, technology advancement like this is interesting. But on the banking side, they have always been conventional in IT. And Dato', realistically, how long will these people end up using blockchain? And to your point of view.
See, one of the things is bank looks into their cost-income ratio first. So any businesses first looks into what is and how they have to see forward. So always I call it three boxes strategy, means what you are today, what you are seeing in 3 years, and what you are seeing in 10 years' time. And that's exactly the banks are doing it. banks has a huge legacy systems currently. And this requires a lot of investment at a bank level to come out from that legacy system. I was hearing yesterday that one of the bank is a 25 years old back office system or back office database, they are having it. So they have a huge challenges. On other side, there is a study which is DBS did it, that any bank who will not invest in the next 3 years, they will lose the 18% of the business. Means the new business which is millionaire and lot of other people who are not yet banked. So if you want to take that business and you are not doing investment in a technology, you will lose 18%. On other side, if you are not investing in a technology, you will lose 18% of the business too. 18% in 3 years' time. So together, if you see, it is almost 35 to 38% loss in the bank if any bank decides not to invest. So actually, there is no choice to the bank. And you heard, I think, Tansy IM, which is the governor of the BNM, he clearly said that in the next 5 years, if any bank will not invest, they will lose the 20% of their revenue, which is very appropriate. And my view is that is still, I'm saying that in Malaysia, the banks are slow. They are not investing they're supposed to invest, in fact. The reason behind is that they are not really seeing this is happening. Like probably people sitting here in this room, they understand that there is a need for the investment, there is a need to do something on a fintech, there is a need that we have to start using artificial intelligence and all. But in the banking, these people are still not feel that this is a challenge to us. And that's the biggest problem I can see. Whereas the some bank really doing very well, and you will see very soon, some of the new digital bank will come. And you will see in the US, I have seen 3 banks, no regulatory approvals, and these 3 banks has started the banking with the universities. So my view is that this destruction is coming. Now how bank can see it and really start putting a planning to have an investment into the technology or in fintech area. But regulators, I feel that very keen that this is supposed to happen. Because I'm sitting in a committee, fintech, this blockchain, we discussed at least 20 areas of the banking where fintech can help. We have chosen one, which is invoice financing, which is a very small to basically do the pilot. And to understand all the banks, how they can have each and how the block can come, and how the smart contract is supposed to work. There is a huge issue in Malaysia on a mortgage where the registration of a document is a big challenge. Blockchain can do a much bigger in this area because a smart contract can play a role into it. It takes sometime 3 to 6 months, in fact. So huge opportunity outside, I can see. Huge, the people is smart, this fintech, young people coming up with the startups, great ideas. I heard some of the ideas, they don't have the money to go for. They need money. These, I think the people in Malaysia who has the money, I suggest to them, through this platform and wherever I meet these people, invest it. That is the future. And invest it for these young people. They are the entrepreneur of the future of the Malaysia. So this is what I feel that we have to go and help all these people which are doing and coming up with the new ideas.
Oh, thank you, Dato'. I think that's pretty much answered.
That's one of the question already I addressed.
I see, Emma. So there's another questions. I think there are still gaps between, and why is the bank hesitate to invest more? I think this is also answered by you. So at this, what do you see the impact? This is from Anonymous, but what is you see the impact of fintech from the social sustainability side? Is fintech an easy way to create awareness, or it has bigger means to the society somehow?
Both. Your area is, I think you can give a better answer because your solution is very much like this social sustainability, and this is happening, so probably you are the right person to answer.
Okay, so I will take it. The very good question. So whenever it comes to technology, it is there to make things easier, faster, to enable things in a very fast speed. So similar thing when it comes to create the awareness of social responsibility or sustainability or the integration of the environmental, social, and governance goals, ESG goals. Fintech is obviously one of the most impactful enablers. So what happens when we go through those fintech companies, it gives a very robust access to funds for project developers who are with social or ESG goals. However, they don't have such collaterals or such requirements. They are unable to meet the requirements to get funds from the banks. So on the other side, people who do not have funds, big funds to invest in real estate projects, for example, those fintech platforms enable them to contribute in the big real estate, big impactful projects with the small amount of funds. So this is inclusiveness in both sides, and also creating the social impact. So at ETIS, I would like to mention that early this year, we have signed to the UNGC, UN Global Compact.
Oh.
And we are one of the few, I think, for crowdfunding platforms who have signed to that. And we are really committed to adhere to the ESG criteria. And whenever there are discussion about the ethical finance or the sustainable finance, there are a few things always being discussed. And one of those things is the challenge to get the data on how the social impact is being created. So this we have already been doing even before signing with UNGC. We have always been collecting this data and providing to our investors how the social impact has been created through the affordable housing. Usually we do affordable housing in Indonesia. There is about 18 million, shortage of about 18 million houses per year in Indonesia. So we are trying to, come to that gap and provide the affordable housing for those people, lower middle income people, and create the social impact. So obviously, to answer this question, fintech has really a bigger role to create the social sustainability or social responsibility in terms of investment, in terms of awareness, and many other ways.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Wondering if there's any more questions from the audience. You can post your questions on Slido.
The last question, which I just want to address, that in fintech firms, what they're supposed to do, and that's what quite often that even the fintech companies are asking this question, and also what banks are looking for, so that they should go and invest into the right area, these fintech area. Let me tell you, whether it is academia, universities, they have to focus a lot into the artificial intelligence in the coming 5 years. It's a huge piece. Like people they are undermining this whole area. The people who has understood, like Google or Facebook, they have done a great jobs by using the artificial intelligence and especially the machine learning. So for banks, we need lot of this. If there is a companies who are supposed to help banks on a data to be analyzed and give to the machine learning and give us the various answers, the bank really can perform very well. Because what Rajate was saying, that customer experience, at the end, bank cannot move forward until we cannot give a better experience to the people. And a better experience only can come when we will know exactly what our customer know. And that's the huge data the banks are sitting on. For hundreds of years of the data, they are having it. So this data somebody has to take in, really come up with the artificial intelligence technology to work on and help the banks. And this is the one area I think every bank is love to take their services from the fintech companies.
May I add to the similar question that answered by Dato just now?
Please.
Okay, talking about the greatest impact of fintech is if you want to be a fintech champion nowadays, you have to tap into the pain points of the consumer, the end user. If you can solve the consumer problems, then you can win in this game. Because disruption is not a disruption is not an intention. It's a effect of the byproduct of the problem solved. Because we don't actually wake up in the morning and to say whom we to disrupt, okay? But instead, what kind of problem we want to solve.
Exactly. Yes. So there's another question here. Latest questions from Anonymous. What would be the right strategy to take out our Malaysian, not take out, but to bring out our Malaysian companies overseas? Marketing it outside of Malaysia, maybe.
I think this question has to be asked more on a MDEC or the people who are really responsible for it. And I can see a little bit of a hype, but when I'm comparing just with the Singapore and Malaysia, I feel that Singapore is doing much more in this area. But both, I can see Singapore and Malaysia, the people coming from outside and establishing the companies, fintech companies in the countries and trying to give the resolution of the problem. What I can see that this has to start from the universities. That the young people, they have to, what he said is that understand the number one problem of the society or any problem of the society which they want to solve. And MDEC and other government agencies, they have to really fund that. Because nobody will come from outside to fund these people. And let me tell you, these people coming from a VC, they have their own interests. They are not interested to basically really grow this whole startup company. So my view is very simple. This is the area where the government and the MDEC has to really work, and they are. I mean, when I'm saying that, it is not. If you heard about the supercharger, we brought the Hong Kong supercharger, the best in class in Malaysia. Standard Chartered Bank, Alice Insurance, and MDEC paid $1 million to these people to do annual accelerator. 10 startups are currently getting the training over there, and they have a unique, what you said is the problem area to solve. So if we continue this, I think we are there. So I cannot say one time I'm saying maybe more has to be done, but actually a lot is happening as well.
This is an interesting question from Anonymous again. Now, there's the big banks, there's small fintech ends, and there's a medium size and medium to big, small to medium, I don't know. But some of you fit in these areas. It's interesting. I mean, do you think there's a different market segment that you're targeting, or do you aspire to replace the bank or not at all? Maybe RM applications there would have some kind of insight.
I think the market is still the same. The size of the pie is the same. It's just what is happening is maybe when the fintech is coming, and again, fintech also is trying to take the piece of that pie. Okay? So what is happening is, so it's nothing about small or big over here. It's about, like as Dato said, or even Rajate said, it's about customer experience. If the customer find that if they go for this service, which is cheaper, faster, and safer for them, they'll go for it.
That's true.
So the way I look at it, it's not about the size over here. I think it's a customer who decides it. Now, for example, if we talk about remittance industry, I think we all know that as per the statistics, the most of the transactions are performed by non-banking remittance service provider. The banking institution are still lacking in that area. Maybe because they adapt to this new technology or this framework where they don't want to use SWIFT.
Yeah.
The banks still prefer to use SWIFT, and the charges for SWIFT is much higher. So of course, customer does not want to go to the bank because they know they're going to get charged. And again, it will take 3 days, 4 days. Then again, there are lending charges. Why should I go for it? Why don't I go for the other remittance service provider, which will do the transaction the same day it get credit or maybe the next day. And again, the cost is cheaper. So that's why I can say that the size is still there. The size is still the same. It's just that, okay, the fintech is taking the piece of that size. But again, as if the banks doesn't catch up on that, then of course, the other side will take the bigger market share.
Interesting.
So one area probably bank, a part of the business will go from the bank, which is payment. So you can see your company or TransferWise or Abra, which is a very different company where the transaction is happening through a Bitcoin. And it is available from US to Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, and now they are coming to Malaysia. So these companies will definitely change the model where the bank is today. And I personally feel that some of the business will go away. But just to add on you, there are 2 billion people which are like they are not doing the banking. So this is the huge space for the fintech where they should be able to tap, and this is the smaller piece. So my view is that for fintech, there is a huge space available to work.
Agreed.
So there's still a lot of market segment that can be segmentized there, I suppose. The financial inclusion people, investment. Are you doing this? Do you segmentize your investment areas, or how does it work for your platform? Sorry.
Siddiq, is it?
Yeah.
Well, for now we're focusing on the retail segment of banking because our community is currently quite limited. But having said that, we are still looking for other alternative commodity. Then only we can tap into maybe corporate investment sectors.
I see.
Yeah.
About the smaller people, can someone invest with just having $1? Is that something, a fintech idea that anybody would, small fintech companies would even bother, like Etis?
Yeah, I think we sometimes offer that, and our minimum for now is $250 for real estate projects. However, for sadaqah or donations, for example, people can come up with as minimum as $5.
$5.
Yeah. So and how I see is it's a different market. People are coming to the online. They are still getting habituated to the online transactions, online investments, to trust parties cross-border, because we see that our investors are coming from the West, the Middle East, and other parts of the world. So, once they are getting used to it, to donate or invest something to one crowdfunding platform, for example, then they feel much safer or secure to transact to the other platform. So it creates a new, market, I would say, a new type of transactioners or investors or donors who prefer to invest or transact through those online and digital money and online platforms.
Oh, okay, amazing.
From a small side, Malaysia has a very unique advantage. One, whenever I go home and driving car or looking around, I can see the P2P on a light pole. And what it is written over there? It is written over there, call to this number, we will give you 10,000 ringgit or 5,000 ringgit. And most of the polls you can see this. This is a huge opportunity, I feel, that there are people who are looking forward for money.
Yes.
And there are people who has extra money. So if there is this problem is in a society, why not these fintech young startups should come over and connect these two people? Connect the people, which is, so what Uber is doing, or BNB is doing it. All this is basically connecting the two society. One where the need is and one they actually want to use
Yes.
it. So Malaysia, I personally feel this is a huge market. There are people who are looking for a very small number. Even shopkeepers sometimes, they are just looking 5,000 because their goods are coming in. Or so that is the area I personally feel that somebody has to come up with a wallet where this personal loan can be given on a wallet. So one thing I want to take an opportunity here. I'm not sure how many of you people are aware of that there is a PayNet is coming in Malaysia, which is Bank Negara or this called, or in Singapore called Pay Mobile came in. So next year in Malaysia, by using your mobile number or your IC number, you can be able to pay from a 1 ringgit to any amount. And this will not be from the bank only. So Bank Negara, it was a huge debate, and finally we have agreed that all the wallet will be doing this as well. So the people then can put the money into the wallet, and also the wallet you can pay to anywhere. So see, this is a game changer in the market, because you can pay just a 1 ringgit through your mobile. And even for a wallet people, which was a little bit seeing that whether wallet will be the future or not, I think it is a great future for the wallet. And this is another banking. Like always the people ask the disruption. I see this CASA, which is the deposit, there's another way that people should start putting the money into their own wallet. And it's all about trust. So if they can trust to some wallet, it is a replacement of the bank. So this is a game changer happening in Malaysia.
Yes.
I'm very hopeful. The timeline is June, July. And all the bank is working on it. And it's ahead than a market. By the way, it is a B2B or P2B as well, because any person can send the money to the any company registration number. So if I want to send a 500 to some company, I just write down the number of the company and the amount, 500. And that's it. Two information only. So that is the easiness will come very soon. I think Bank Negara is different. I learned Bank Negara a lot working with them. I am in many committees. Bank Negara works quietly and does a great job, by the way. Many regulators speaks too much, but does come. Less they do. I have seen in the last 5-10 years, I have given you example, 60% of the check reduction is a huge thing.
Yes.
It's a contribution to the GDP in the Malaysia. So I'm hoping a lot, in fact, in the next 2 to 3 years, Malaysia will be on a forefront.
Yeah, I want to add, I mean, in terms of for central bankers, it's undoubtedly BNM is way ahead from other peer regulators, I would say. And recently I came across the CDBC staff discussion paper, the central bank digital currency paper, which Bank Negara has just published, I think early this month, right? 2 weeks back. So it's very interesting. They are thinking of issuing a digital currency over blockchain backed by the central bank, which already has been implemented in Ecuador, and says Canada and few other countries have, been experimenting, and Japan and other countries are researching on that. I would pick that point, the e-wallet, the one inshallah we are expecting to get by next year, as mentioned, that in Bangladesh, in a previous session, there was a mention of bKash. So the bKash is e-wallet. It's initially it was powered by a bank, but it actually kind of evolved to an independent institution. And other than bank transfer, money transfer, it would also facilitate payment to different companies, even POS, okay? And only in 5 years, it got about 17 million users.
Wow.
With about 35% active users. And most of the users, with about 30,000 merchants over the country. And most of the users come from village who do not have any bank account. So it's a big tool for financial inclusion, and this is what fintech has the power to do. I mean, inclusion of in terms of the financing.
Actually, on the academic side, I'm actually worried looking at Bank Negara trying to come up with their own cryptocurrencies.
Not only Bank Negara, there are up till, and this report has this detail. If you see this report, at the end, they have identified the number of countries which they are coming up with their own cryptocurrency. So it is becoming a reality very soon. But how we have to use in a disciplined way, that is the thing we have to work out. I'm a big fan of cryptocurrency. But how the legislation and what Raja Te was saying is that this hype has been created is wrong. Because it has gone to the exchange and the people are using the money for a different reason. That can be controlled because if you are regulator is coming up with a currency, cryptocurrency, which is much easier to use and transfer, then and putting up a policy how to do it, I think this is a revolution.
All right, so I think we're almost done with the session. Thank you very much, Dato', Mr. Fazul, Etis Crowd.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank
RM
you.
Applications. I think we'll also have to run. It's quite a traffic here in KL. I'll give it back to Sister.